It's a couple of days later, but last time I checked, Tennessee baseball are still national champions. Man, it's been a fun week from the celebration Tuesday afternoon and a whole lot more. We'll continue to say what is next for Tennessee baseball, the national champions of college baseball. That and more, plus recruiting. All that coming up here on a Thursday. Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Vols, your place for Tennessee baseball, football, recruiting, basketball coverage, 30 minutes or less every single day. So thanks so much for making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day, Tennessee Volunteers. And we're for free, literally free, wherever you watch, listen, download, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Locked On Vols on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe, all those places, completely free and ready for you each weekday morning. And I'm Eric Kane. Can't thank you enough for being here. Going to be a fun show coming up today. Tennessee still national champions, but what's next for this program? That coming up in a matter of seconds, plus my experience. A lot of you guys want to know about my experience in Omaha. I'll tell you that coming up in a matter of seconds. Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback, current host of Jocks radio station on Jocks, ESPN, SEC Network, had some things to say about Tony Vitello, and you know I'm going to comment on that. So that's coming up in segment number 2. And then Tre Poteat commits to the University of Tennessee. Tennessee's like 5th commit since I've been in Omaha. All that and more coming up right now on Locked On Vols. Couldn't do this show without our friends over Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code Locked On College, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. So, Tennessee, national champions, are the kings of the college baseball universe. And I gave you some raw reaction there on, I guess it was Tuesday's show, because the game was on Monday night, 6-5, holding on, taking down Texas A&M. And securing the first national championship in program history for Tennessee in baseball, 24th team all-sports national championship for the University of Tennessee, but the first since 2009. And so it was a big deal, obviously. And I gave you some real reaction there on Tuesday's show. I was traveling back from Omaha all day Tuesday, got in to McGee-Tyson in Knoxville at about 11 o'clock on Tuesday night, so I wasn't able to get a show up for Wednesday. But right back here, and I appreciate your patience and understanding in that. But man, it's still kind of hard to believe. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm sitting here like, man, Tennessee won the national championship. Tennessee's been so close. Tennessee's been the best team in college baseball really over the last 4-year span, but it had nothing to show for it. And so many things kind of worked against Tennessee, right? Chase Burns left via the transfer portal after last year's Omaha run. He went to Wake Forest. Your Friday night starter, A.J. Russell, was pretty much injured the entire season. So much worked against Tennessee in that regard. But all Tennessee did was pound away, just kept winning, kept evolving as the season went along. And as is the case for all national champions, there's like 30 or 40 different storylines you could follow. I mean, Xander Seacrest, what he turned into as the season went along. Kirby Cannell, Aaron Combs. Aaron Combs, I mean, it's legendary. Aaron Combs trying to nail down the final 3 outs for Tennessee Monday night, coming off a 63-pitch performance the day before, okay? And he allows a couple of runs to score. You got the tying run at the plate. You got a guy on second. That run doesn't matter. That base run doesn't matter at all. And I saw some people trying to make the argument that run mattered. No, it did not. It was not the tying run, and you won a national championship, so goodness gracious, people will find something to complain about. But anyway, you go and he's on base, and Aaron Combs is so focused on the batter, he has no clue what's going on. He balks. The guy goes to third. He's sitting there laughing. A wild pitch, he scores. He's laughing on the mound. I mean, what in the world? It's going through your face when the TV shows. I mean, I was in the box, so I didn't see, but I saw on social media afterwards. He's sitting there laughing. Oh, man. But I did see Cal Star go out there and say, yo, hold up. Tony Vitello was like, calm down. It's fine. Focus on the batter. The batter and out number 3 is all that matters, and Aaron Combs did just that. I mean, just a bulldog mentality. Him, Nate Snead, Xander Seacrest, Dylan Dreiling, all these guys. Christian Moore, best player in the country this year, in my opinion. So many different storylines, and we can continue to talk about that as the days progress. But I mean, this team's going to live on forever. It's a national championship, lives on forever, and it couldn't happen, in my opinion, to a better group of guys. I mean, I'm on the beat, #beat, and I see these guys, and we interview them, and we talk to them. I mean, guys, again, it's my job, it's my way of life, and I'm blessed, and I'm loving it. I'm not complaining whatsoever, but I have been with this team every single weekend since February. And so we talk and we see these guys, and they're so cordial and they're so understanding. They know we have a job to do, and this staff, and Tony, Frank Anderson, Elander, these support staff members, Chad Zurcher, and all these guys, Q, the strength and conditioning coach. It just couldn't happen to a better collection of men. And I'm thrilled for them. I'm pumped. And as far as me, so many of you guys have DM'd and been like, I mean, I know I spoke about this a little bit earlier in the week, but wanting me to share my experience, and I thank you for that. It's just one that I'll never forget. It's the highlight of my career so far. I mean, I will, just like these players who actually won it, I mean, I'll never forget it. I mean, spending every weekend with the Tennessee baseball team since February, Hoover, the run they went on there, of course, the wins and regional play and super regional play in Game 3, and then, of course, going to Omaha and spending 12 to 13 days in Omaha, Nebraska, and seeing how it played out, and the storylines, the cycle for SEMO in Game 1, and the come-from-behind victory in that game against Florida State, the walk-off with Dylan Dreiling, and the catch from Hunter Inslee, and the catch from Kavaris Tears, and Dylan Dreiling's heroics in the final series, and Xander Seacrest, of course, and Drew Beam. I mean, I'll never forget it. It's you play the game to win championships. You cover teams because you enjoy it and because it's your passion. But you too want to cover the big games. You too want to cover the big series. And I'll have this forever, and it's awesome. And it's no guarantee that you ever get to go back and experience something like this. Same as a player, same as a coach, same as a reporter. And it's truly something awesome. And I'm blessed for sure. The question now is, though, what's next for this Tennessee baseball team? Real quick before I get to that, I do want to read. I had a chance to get a quote from Peyton Manning. I told you guys that on Tuesday, but man, freaking Peyton Manning! I got a quote from him after the game. I know I wasn't alone, but 10-year-old Eric would just be ecstatic. He said, "I'm honored to be here. I followed this team all season long. Tony's been a good friend. He keeps up with my dad, which I appreciate as a son. They've been fighting and have been right at the door so many times. I texted him the other night. Congrats, good luck. Real short, sweet text." He said you don't want to change your texting routine when you get to the championship game. You want to be consistent with your texts. He hit me back this morning. This is Peyton Manning right after the win on Monday night. Said he hit me back this morning. Thanks for the text. A lot of tough decisions to make tonight. And Peyton Manning said, "It was an old quote from my college coordinator David Cutcliffe used to tell me about the decision making. General George Patton said, make a decision and do it like hell. And Tony went all in, changing pitchers, who's at bat, when to steal, whatever it is. That is what you do in these big games. You can't second-guess yourself. He's done that all season long. He's a heck of a coach, and it was fun to watch all season, all game long." I thought that quote just kind of sums up who Tony Vitello is. I mean, it was a text from Peyton to Tony, from David Cutcliffe, of course, from George Patton. General George Patton said back in the day, and make a decision and do it like hell. And that's what Tony Vitello has always done while he's been here at Tennessee. He makes the lineup. He sticks to it. He dances with the girls that he brought to the dance, so to speak. Cal Stark at catcher. Hunter Inslee at center. Last year, Christian Scott in right field. Griffin Merritt at DH. I mean, you stick with those decisions. His guys were Kirby, Combs, and Snead out of the bullpen. He stuck with those guys. And now you're a national champion. I thought that text from Peyton to Tony, from David Cutcliffe, and of course originally General George Patton, I thought that was really, really cool, and I'm glad that he shared that. But got to talk to Peyton after the game, and I'll never forget that, obviously. But the scene afterwards was just impeccable. Confetti, everybody hugging, dancing, taking pictures. Was awesome, and to be there and be able to experience that again, I can hit on repeat. I'll never ever forget it. So, what's next for this team? Well, transfer portal. Tennessee won a national championship, but obviously business is as usual, and the general's quarters wanting to know updates, portal, all this type of stuff. Well, transfer portal is open for about another week. June the 3rd is when it closes. Tennessee's expected to miss, say goodbye to a lot of these guys, and I'll have more on that later in the week because of the draft and graduation and all that. So they're going to have to reload. And Tennessee's focus has been on winning a College World Series, obviously. So they've missed some time away from home to where they can bring in prospects for visits. But I expect that to change here in the the coming days for sure. Heading into the weekend, I think more and more names are going to be mentioned. The two names, obviously, that Tennessee's been keeping in contact with the most, Gavin Keelan, former infielder from Louisville. That is arguably the best player in the portal right now. Tennessee is very much in that. So were a lot of other teams. He was going to visit Texas A&M before Schloss took the job at Texas, and I'll have to see if A&M's even a factor anymore. I doubt it is. But Tennessee's in that one. Tommy Lepore, the pitcher from Wichita State, Tennessee's very much in that one. But again, more and more names are going to continue to be added as the days go on. They're going to be making up for lost time for sure. And who wouldn't want to check out Tennessee right now? I mean, that was kind of the recruiting pitch that Billy Amick told me after the game during the celebrations. But anyway, so those are some of the names in the portal to pay attention to, and I'll continue you guys to update that as the week goes on. Tony Vitello and his camp are working through an extension with Tennessee. Obviously, you win a national championship, go back to the drawing board a little bit, and ask for more money as it should. All indications are expect that to be done. Batter vault syndrome, don't have anything to worry about in my opinion, but would imagine that Tennessee's going to take care of Tony Vitello, and that should be made public, I would imagine, in the next couple days to a week, obviously. So that's big on the docket. Tony Vitello extension. See if the staff is retained. Josh Elander, there's not a huge job out there right now, but there is a trickle-down effect, right? How does Schloss go into Texas? And so many people have asked me about all the players who have entered the portal from Aggie Land. I'm sure Tennessee will have interest in them, but after 5 minutes of them entering the portal, I don't have an update. So, I mean, Jace Laviette and Gavin Grohov and so many of these other guys, excuse me, really, really good players. I am sure Tennessee's going to have interest in some of those guys. Also, I'm sure some of those guys will go to Texas, potentially to follow their coach. Maybe, not all of them, but anyway, we'll see, what comes of that. But there could be a trickle-down effect. A&M gets this coach, this coach gets this coach. How does that affect Josh Elander? We'll see. Those are things I'm paying attention to over the immediate future, the next couple of days. And, of course, we'll talk about it right here on Locked On Vols. But, hey, Tennessee's still national champions. What a feeling, right? What a feeling. Tennessee national champions, and that will never be taken away. We'll come back, and we'll talk about a noted Vol hater, Greg McElroy. What did he have to say here recently? We'll get into that here in segment number 2 as we continue on here with this Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. Stay tuned. Want to say about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time, you download the app, you put in this promo code Locked On College, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. You might be saying, well, hey, what is Game Time? Well, it's a place where you can buy tickets to events, not just sporting events, but all kinds of events in your area. Sure, sporting events, we'll use Knoxville as an example. Thompson Bowling Arena at the Food City Center, boy, it's there's always something going on over there. Plus, men's and women's basketball, volleyball, but also concerts and monster truck rallies and bull riding sessions and all that type of stuff. You can buy tickets to all those by using the Game Time app, but also the Bijou Theater, the Tennessee Theater, everything going on in your area. You can use the Game Time app to buy those tickets, all in pricing, views from your seats, the lowest price guarantee, which Game Time is going to credit you 110% of the difference if you find the same ticket at a lower price somewhere else. So, interesting stuff there. Go check it out over the Game Time app. Save some money. $20 off your first purchase by putting in the promo code Locked On College. Create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, welcome back into your Thursday edition of Locked On Vols. I am Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys for being here in segment number 2. I want to talk about Greg McElroy. We all know who he is, former Alabama quarterback. He hosts a very successful radio show at WJOX down in Birmingham with Cole Kubelik. Both those guys obviously very visible on ESPN and the SEC Network. And I don't know Greg, but I respect his work. I think he does a really, really good job. From afar, I enjoy him on broadcasts and a little of the radio show that I've seen online and that I've heard and all that. I mean, they do a really, really good stuff. But this happened Tuesday morning, of course, after Tennessee won the national championship and celebrating all that. And then they had their radio show Tuesday morning. And Greg McElroy had some things to say that, boy, that just doesn't sit right with any Tennessee fan, obviously. But from a guy that, is around this program just couldn't be further from the truth. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. And in typical Tony Vitello fashion, Greg McElroy, I don't know the guy. I don't know the guy. So again, when I do this on the show, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm hating on what the comment was. And he apologized. I'll get to that here in a moment. I'll read out that apology. But some of the things that he said, that Tuesday morning just seemed like a bitter guy that holds a vendetta against Tennessee, honestly. And sure, it's like, well, he played quarterback at Alabama. I mean, I hear all that, but it just, when you get older, and especially when you're in this industry, you don't act like that. And some of his comments were just weird. Here's a couple of them. Quote, this is from Greg McElroy on Tony Vitello. Quote, his antics after the game last night were embarrassing. Seriously, have some class. You just won a national championship. Have some class. The WWE, with all due respect, not class, just not. When he's referring to the WWE, it's the get some, the kind of the thrust or whatever that, mind you, he did to his team. Nobody else. He did to his team, and that's happened not just from Tony, but from several of these guys throughout the season. When Burke hit that home run, I can't remember what game it was, but Burke hit that home run in one of the regionals or super regional plays, and Burke did it to Tony. Easiest way I can describe that is dudes being dudes. Okay? Sure, maybe he shouldn't have done that. Okay, whatever. He dropped a couple of cuss words on live television. You know who else has done that on live television? A lot of people. A lot of people. And you know who else is going to do that on live television in a sporting event with the emotions, and you stick a microphone in their face right after they just won a national championship or World Series or NBA Finals or Super Bowl? Plenty more are going to drop some cuss words on television too. Oh, he goes on to say, quote, I just wish he doesn't have the antics that he does. He's like a WWE character, and it's embarrassing. Seriously, to be an adult, I'd have been appalled. I really would have. I know he wins. I know he's great. I know the kids love him and all that stuff. But if that were the leader of my organization, I'd have a little talking to with him. It's unbelievable. What are you talking about? Classless? Was it classless when Tony Vitello stayed after every single game in the College World Series and signed autographs? Was it classless when after all the games at Lindsey Nelson Stadium during regional and super regional play, when he and his players stayed and signed autographs? Was that classless? When they're on the road in Lexington or on the road in Gainesville and fans who make the trip want to sign a ball or sign a t-shirt, and he and the members of his staff and players are staying and signing autographs, is that classless? Because if that's classless, we have an issue as a society here. Celebrating in real time after you win a national championship, heaven forbid you have some emotion, you have some gratitude, you have some love for the guys that you were in the trenches with for all these months. I mean, what are we talking about here? Tony Vitello was fine after I was down there on the field. He was fine. He talked to fans, he did interviews, he hugged, he cried. I mean, like, there was nothing that he did that was antics and was embarrassing. I mean, that is some of the, with respect, again, not attacking the person, attacking the comments. With respect, that's some of the weakest crap I have ever heard in my life. I'm just being honest. I understand this is a Locked On Vols podcast. I get all that. But from a guy who's covered the team, unbelievable that somebody would say that. It's kind of that persona where you just see it from afar. And with all due respect, I heard more of his comments, and I don't have him to play here, but he said something like, they lost the national championship game 2 years ago. And right there, and I heard that, I'm like, okay, you don't know how the sport works. You don't know how postseason works. Sure, Monday night was a national championship game, but it was game 3 of a series. And also, Tennessee didn't even make the College World Series, didn't even go to Omaha in 2022. So I'm like, okay, well, do you know what's going on here? He came back Wednesday morning and issued an apology. And so let's acknowledge that, okay? He says, quote, wanted to start off by apologizing to Tony Vitello and the Tennessee Volunteers. Took a shot at him yesterday and it wasn't necessary. My frustrations about where we're at as society boiled over. It was unnecessary. Yesterday should have been a day of celebration of what Tennessee accomplished on the baseball field, as opposed to a stream of conscious, basically, a diatribe about all the things that have bothered me right now in my personal life and all the things that are bothering me right now about the society that we're in. So I apologize to Tony Vitello, to the Tennessee fans. to the baseball program, and I know that I'm as happy for you bringing it home 2 nights ago as anybody that wears crimson and white in their college experience. It wasn't the right place or the right time. So I want to make sure everybody understands that I am very, very sorry. And I will celebrate with you moving forward as opposed to being frustrated by a little nitpicking moments that might have rubbed me the wrong way. So I really, really apologize. It wasn't right. It won't happen again. So let's acknowledge that. He apologized. From reading it, I haven't heard it, but from reading it, it seems sincere. So again, not attacking the guy, okay, attacking the comments that were said. He came back, he apologized, and I think it's best, and I know I'm talking about this on my show, but it's best that we just all move on because clearly, number one, Tennessee's national champion, so who cares, right? Who cares? Number two, I think Tony Vitello has made himself a fan of many, many, many outside of the Big Orange landscape over the course of this postseason. I do. People hear him talk, people hear his passion, people hear his knowledge of the game. It's hard not to like him. I understand if you're competing against him and you're a fan base and they're going up against Tennessee, I get that. But like at the end of the day, hat tip respect, right? I mean, I think Tony Vitello has earned that from a lot of people. And the most important thing to remember here is 2024 baseball team for Tennessee is not 2022. And not to say the guys in 2022's team were bad dudes. There's a lot of holdovers that are still here on this team. But the rap that the 2022 team took, that's not this team. It's just, it's ridiculous. So anyway, heard that, had to talk about it on the show. It wasn't on the air yesterday, but I had to bring up, had to discuss it. But in conclusion, let's acknowledge here, he did apologize. It seemed sincere, okay? He did apologize. Even if he didn't apologize, it doesn't matter. I mean, just who cares, right? It doesn't affect anything. But I could not believe when I heard that clip on Tuesday. I'm like, what on earth are you talking about? What did he do that was classless? Goodness gracious. So anyway, had to talk about that, had to discuss that. This is Locked On Vols. Couldn't go unnoticed, but at the end of the day, is what it is. It's moved on, and we will too. We'll move on to Tennessee football recruiting. Tre Poteat commits to the University of Tennessee, and boy, Tennessee is on an uptick. Tennessee's on a hot streak in recruiting. Who is Tre Poteat? We'll tell you all about that, Tennessee's new commit, and who else is to come when we return here on Locked On Vols. All right, to conclude a Thursday edition of Locked On Vols, going to tell you all about Tre Poteat. Tre Poteat, new Tennessee football commit that came down the wire about lunchtime on Tuesday. Cornerback, 6 foot, 170. He is a 3-star rated prospect by the On3 industry rankings. Again, that's weighted, by On3, 247, ESPN, and Rivals. For the On3 industry rankings, he's the prospect number 591 in the country. But for On3 specifically, they have him as the 108th defensive back. So anyway, you look at it, kind of lowly rated recruit, if you will, and as I do for every commit, remind you that the rankings are updated for each site several times throughout the year. But this is a guy that Tennessee was in on for quite some time. Tennessee won out over Wisconsin. Tre Poteat, he is a defensive back. He's versatile. His father, Hank Poteat, played in the NFL, and he's the current defensive backs coach at Iowa State. And when Poteat made it known that he was not going to go to Iowa State, it became more and more real for Tennessee. And Tennessee's been on him for a long, long time, don't get me wrong, but he was in on an official visit this past weekend. He didn't leave without letting Tennessee know, Tim Banks, Willie Martinez know that he had committed, and he made his Big Orange announcements on social media. That came on Tuesday around lunchtime. This is from his high school football coach, Andrew Riley. Matt Ray over at VolQuest.com, his impact analysis, got the scouting report. Here's a quote from Andrew Riley, his high school football coach. Let me say this first, quote. Let me say this first of all, he is a great young man and a great leader. He's a great dude. On the field, he is a field tilter for us. Whenever he's on the field is going to tilt that way a little bit. The quarterback is going to notice which side of the ball that he's on. He's going to be a little bit more nervous about it. To me, it's his confidence that stands out in what he does. He works hard off the field and in the offseason. His instincts and knowledge of the game put him in the right place to make some exceptional plays. All of the work that he's put in the weight room, speed work, allows him to make the plays special. He plays receiver for us, returns kicks, he returns and punts for us as well. He's just dynamic. Last year, he scored in every way he could except a fumble return for a touchdown. Wherever he is, he's a big difference maker for us. He helps his teammates and holds them accountable as well. He's the defensive back. Tennessee, there's some versatility there. Probably a cornerback, but again, versatile there. Can play a little safety. And Tennessee's defensive backfield is really coming into rounding into form here lately. Tre Poteat again. He is from Wisconsin, 6 foot, 170. Won out over the home state Badgers. Went out over Iowa State, where his father, who played in the NFL, is the current defensive backs coach. Tennessee's been on a long time. Tennessee had him in on an official visit this past weekend, and Tennessee picked up that commit. Now, you look at the rest of the defensive backfield for Tennessee, and Poteat joins a group of Dylan Lewis, of Tyler Redmond. Those three are kind of cornerbacks. You've got Sidney Walton, who's a safety. Tennessee, of course, is still in on a 4-star cornerback, Onis Kanabani, who took an official visit a couple of weeks ago to Tennessee, but he's a really, really good player. Tennessee's still, trying to get him and reel him in as well. But you look at the class for Tennessee now, and it sits 12th nationally, 7th in the SEC. Tennessee has 15 commits, joining 5-star quarterback George McIntyre, 4-star offensive lineman Douglas Utu, committed earlier this week, 4-star defensive lineman Ethan Utley, 4-star wide receiver Rodarius Jackson, 4-star tight end Jack Van Dorselaer, 4-star offensive lineman Nick Moore, 4-star defensive lineman Jaden Lofton, 3-star defensive back Sidney Walton, 3-star offensive lineman Anthony Cade Ogmoro, 3-star cornerback Dylan Lewis, 3-star running back Justin Baker, 3-star cornerback Tre Poteat, the one we're talking about now, 3-star wide receiver Joakim Dotson, 3-star defensive tackle Charles House, and 3-star cornerback Tyler Redmond. Man, Tennessee's been on a purge here in terms of commits here in the last little bit. Really, since I've been in Omaha, Tennessee has picked up Tre Poteat, Douglas Utu, Charles House, Nick Moore. That's 4. And Jaden Lofton happened right before I left for Omaha. Remember, I was in Omaha nearly 2 weeks. So Tennessee has picked up 5 commits in the span of 2 weeks. Really, 6 commits here in the last, we'll call it, month at least. And Tennessee's hoping to pick up some more as well. Big fish still out there. David Sanders, obviously, that's who Tennessee really, really covets, and some other guys. But I like this class. I like the way they're forming, and when the staff has been in on a prospect or a recruit for a long time, like making him a priority, and just because you look up his prospect ranking and he's not, a top 200 guy or whatever, a top 2 or 3 guy in the state, or a 4 or 5-star, I wouldn't let that worry you a little bit. There's a reason why the staff had coveted guys like Tre Poteat and have been in on him for a long, long time, and I think that's important to remember. So, anyway, excited to see how this class continues to shape up. You've got Brame, the tight end, that is going to make a commitment announcements coming up on Saturday. It's going to be between Tennessee and Oregon, and of course Tennessee's already got Jack Van Dorselaer in the class, but would love to add Deshaun Brame as well. Obviously, got some connections, to a current commitment in this class as well. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But these guys are going to continue to come off the board as we enter the last few days of June into July, and of course, before you know it, fall camp is going to be here, starting practice 1st of August, and Tennessee will have football time here before you know it. That's why I love baseball, man. It just really takes you, and especially good baseball and national championship winning baseball. There's not much of an off season between football, basketball, and baseball for Tennessee, and we're really, really blessed here as Tennessee fans, that is for sure. All right, that is going to do it here for this edition of Locked On Vols. We'll be back on Friday to carry off into the weekend. We'll tell you the latest in recruiting, the latest that we know of Tennessee baseball in the transfer portal, Tennessee and contract extension talks with Tony Vitello. By the way, $150,000 in bonuses is what Tony Vitello has already earned via his current deal, via incentives of winning, all the stages, winning a national championship and all that. He's up to $150,000 in bonuses, and that's really, really cool. But we'll tell you the latest in that, everything and more as we continue on with Locked On Vols to conclude a work week that's coming up on Friday. Appreciate you guys, as always, for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch each and every single day. You can subscribe to us, download us, watch us, listen to us for free wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on the Locked On Balls YouTube channel. Until Friday, guys, enjoy your Thursday, and appreciate you for listening. This is Locked On Balls.